program is the Active Center.
Think of international sports like a pressure valve for global tensions. You know, two countries play a match, it lets off some steam, and everyone just goes home.
Right, exactly.
But if you plug that valve during an active military conflict, the entire apparatus just it explodes. It's kind of like stepping onto a soccer pitch expecting to play South Korea, and then you realize the actual opponent is your own country's security forces. How a totally routine sporting event in Australia rapidly transformed into this massive, high-stakes geopolitical standoff.
Yeah, and the catalyst for all of this happened on March 2nd, 2026. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't an action, it was the absence of one. The Iranian team basically stood in absolute silence during their national anthem.
Okay, let's unpack this, because, I mean, you and I know authoritarian governments use sports for propaganda, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And they don't exactly tolerate public dissent. But to immediately threaten capital wartime treason charges for just not singing, that is an incredibly aggressive reflex. How does mere silence trigger that kind of charge so fast?
Well, what's fascinating here is the timing. It didn't happen in a vacuum. This silence occurred exactly 48 hours after a major U.S. Israeli conflict escalation with Iran.
Oh, wow. So they were already on edge.
Exactly. State media, specifically the IRB, they weaponized that timing immediately. They branded the athletes as wartime traitors.
Because they couldn't afford to look weak.
Right. They framed it as actively demoralizing the nation during a conflict. And that rhetoric immediately created a really scary physical reality on the ground in Australia.
Yeah, this is where it gets really dark. The team's hotel on the Gold Coast basically became this hostage-like environment.
Yeah, it was bad.
Because they were traveling with handlers linked to the IRGC, right? And these operatives immediately started confiscating their passports.
Yeah, totally cutting off their mobility.
And, threatening their families back in Tehran. So why does this localized, terrifying hotel crisis turn into a global diplomatic incident?
Well, looking impartially at the timeline, the whole thing shifted because of a social media post. On March 9th, former U.S. President Donald Trump posts on Truth Social.
Wait, really? A social media post did all that?
Yeah, he publicly challenged Australian TM Anthony Albanese, basically saying, grant them asylum or the U.S. will do it.
Man, that is immense pressure. I mean, forcing Albanese into a corner where doing nothing just wasn't an option anymore.
Exactly. And that digital pressure cooker led to a very real 2:00 a.m. phone call between the U.S. and Australian leaders, which actually broke the deadlock.
Which is wild, because the very next day, March 10th, Australia actually sent people in and extracted 7 team members.
Right. They granted emergency visas to some key players.
Like the captain, Zara Ganbari, and Fatima Pasandita.
Yes. But, it was a really tragic split.
Oh, absolutely. Because the rest of the team didn't make it out. They were sent back to Tehran, and there were those incredibly emotional protests at the Sydney airport. Just a heartbreaking scene.
It really was.
So why does all of this matter to you listening at home? I mean, it completely shatters the illusion that sports are this safe sanctuary from global conflict, because Iran officially called this extraction operation a hostage-taking, while the West obviously viewed it as a rescue. We're just looking at the facts.
And looking at those facts brings up a really provocative thought to leave you with.
Yeah, what's that?
If authoritarian states are increasingly viewing athletes as state property during wartime, if every anthem is a life-or-death test, will future international tournaments be forced to mandate completely stateless, neutral teams just to guarantee the physical safety of the competitors?
Hello, and thanks for listening. This is David Sepp and the Active Center team. For years, our mission has been to foster a community around engagement, health, and conversation. If you value what we do, please consider supporting us. We've started a GoFundMe to cover our production and operational costs, including those pesky social media fees. Your contribution, big or small, helps us keep going. Thank you.